Keanu Reeves walked onto the brightly lit stage of a popular late-night talk show, his presence immediately drawing applause from the lively studio audience. Dressed in his signature understated style, a sleek black jacket paired with dark jeans, and boots, he exuded an air of quiet confidence that had become synonymous with his name. As he took his seat across from the host, Jordan Hartwell, the energy in the room felt electric. Everyone was eager to hear what the enigmatic actor would say about his latest blockbuster film, which had already shattered box office records worldwide. Jordan Hartwell, known for his quick wit and often irreverent humor, greeted Keanu warmly, but wasted no time diving into his usual banter. The two exchanged pleasantries briefly, discussing everything from the weather to how exhausting yet rewarding promotional tours could be. But it wasn't long before Jordan's sharp eyes landed on something around Keanu's neck, a small silver cross dangling delicately against his plain shirt. It wasn't flashy or ornate, rather it seemed like a simple keepsake, almost blending into Keanu's minimalist attire. Yet its subtle gleam under the studio lights caught Jordan's attention. Well, Jordan said with a smirk, leaning back in his chair as if he'd just stumbled upon the perfect material for a joke. Look at this, Keanu Reeves, Hollywood, action star extraordinaire, accessorizing like one of us regular folks. He gestured toward the necklace with exaggerated enthusiasm, prompting scattered laughter from the audience. What's the deal with the little cross there? Are you secretly auditioning for a role as a priest next? Or is this your way of telling us you found religion? The comment hung in the air momentarily, eliciting more chuckles from the crowd. Some clapped lightly, while others shifted awkwardly in their seats, unsure whether to laugh or remain silent. Keanu, however, didn't flinch. His expression stayed calm, betraying none of the emotions swirling beneath the surface. He offered a polite smile, nodding along as though he'd expected such a remark. After all, being in the public eye for decades meant he was no stranger to questions, some curious, others invasive, about his personal life. But Jordan wasn't done. Sensing an opportunity to push the bit further, he leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk between them. Seriously though, Keanu, he continued, his tone shifting slightly to feign intrigue. Is this some kind of Hollywood trend now? Like, do all the A-listers wear crosses these days? Because if so, I might need to get myself one too. Maybe it'll help me land my own action movie someday. This time the audience erupted into louder laughter, clearly enjoying the playful jab. Cameras zoomed in on Keanu's face, capturing every micro-expression. To anyone watching closely, there was a flicker of something deeper behind his composed exterior. A hint of reflection, perhaps, or a fleeting moment of introspection. Still, he maintained his composure, offering nothing more than a soft chuckle in response. You never know, Keanu finally replied, his voice steady and measured. It might work wonders for your career. His words were laced with just enough dry humor to keep the mood light, earning him a round of appreciative applause. For a brief second, it seemed as though the conversation might pivot to safer ground. Jordan grinned, clearly pleased with himself, and transitioned to asking about the stunts Keanu performed in his new film. Yet despite the shift in topic, viewers couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had transpired during those few moments. Social media platforms buzzed almost instantly, with fans dissecting Jordan's remarks and Keanu's seemingly nonchalant reaction. Tweets poured in, ranging from supportive messages praising Keanu's grace under pressure to criticisms accusing Jordan of crossing a line by mocking something so clearly personal. For many longtime admirers of Keanu, the cross necklace wasn't just another accessory. It was a staple of his public appearances, rarely missing from any outfit he wore. Its consistent presence hinted at a deeper meaning, though Keanu had seldom spoken publicly about it. This mystery only fueled curiosity, leaving people wondering why Jordan had chosen to make light of it in the first place. As the segment progressed, Jordan moved on to safer topics, peppering Keanu with questions about his training regimen, his favorite scenes from the movie, and even his thoughts on the future of action films. Keanu answered each question thoughtfully, displaying the same humility and charm that had endeared him to millions over the years. Yet throughout the interview, the camera occasionally lingered on the cross necklace, a silent reminder of the earlier exchange. By the time the segment wrapped up, the audience gave Keanu a standing ovation, applauding not only for his talent, but also for the quiet dignity he carried throughout the interview. As he waved goodbye and exited the stage, the lingering tension in the room suggested that this wouldn't be the last anyone heard of the infamous cross necklace moment. Little did anyone know, the story was far from over, and what followed would leave an indelible mark on both Keanu's legacy and the broader cultural conversation about empathy, respect, and the power of symbols. The next day, the internet was ablaze with reactions to Jordan Hartwell's comments about Keanu Reeves's cross necklace. Social media platforms were flooded with posts dissecting every word of the exchange, and opinions were sharply divided. Some defended Jordan, arguing that his remarks were harmless jokes meant to entertain, while others condemned him for mocking something that clearly held personal significance for Keanu. Amidst the chaos, one question lingered in everyone's mind: what did the cross necklace truly mean to Keanu? Jordan seemed unfazed at first, brushing off the backlash as just another part of being a late-night host. During his opening monologue the following evening, he made light of the situation, delivering a string of self-deprecating jokes aimed at easing the tension. "Looks like I've officially joined the list of people who've tried and failed to rattle Keanu Reeves," he quipped, earning polite laughter from the audience. But even as he joked, there was a subtle shift in his tone, a flicker of unease that hinted at the growing pressure he felt behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Keanu remained characteristically silent. True to form, he didn't engage in public disputes or respond to criticism on social media. Instead, he continued promoting his film with the same quiet professionalism that had defined his career. However, during an appearance on a daytime talk show later that week, the interviewer, aware of the mounting curiosity, decided to broach the subject gently. "Keanu," she began, leaning forward slightly as if to convey sincerity, "there's been a lot of discussion online about your cross necklace after your recent interview. People are wondering, what does it mean to you? Would you mind sharing its story?" For a moment, Keanu hesitated. His eyes drifted downward, focusing on the small silver pendant resting against his chest. It was clear that this wasn't a topic he discussed often, or perhaps ever, with the media. But then, with a deep breath, he began to speak. "This necklace," he said softly, his voice carrying a weight that silenced the room, "was given to me by my mother many years ago. It belonged to my sister Kim." He paused, collecting his thoughts before continuing. "She passed away unexpectedly when she was very young. This cross, it's a reminder of her. Every time I wear it, I feel connected to her memory." The studio fell completely still. Even the crew members, usually bustling with activity, stopped moving to listen intently. Keanu's words were simple yet profoundly moving, offering a glimpse into a deeply personal aspect of his life. He went on to explain that the necklace wasn't tied to any specific religion, but symbolized something far more universal: love, loss, and the enduring bonds between family members. "It's not about faith in the traditional sense," he clarified. "It's about believing in connection, in remembering the people we've loved and lost. For me, this cross represents hope. Hope that even though someone may no longer be physically here, their presence can still live on through memories, through symbols like this." As Keanu spoke, the camera zoomed in on his face, capturing the emotion etched into his features. There was no trace of bitterness or resentment in his expression, only warmth and gratitude for the opportunity to honor his sister's memory. By the time he finished speaking, the interviewer looked visibly moved, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Well," she said after a long pause, her voice trembling slightly, "thank you for sharing that with us. That must have been difficult to talk about, but I know it will resonate with so many people watching today." The audience erupted into applause, not the boisterous kind that accompanies flashy stunts or clever punchlines, but a heartfelt, reverent ovation that filled the room with a sense of unity and understanding. Backstage, Keanu took a moment to gather himself before heading to his next engagement. Despite the emotional weight of the conversation, he appeared calm and composed. as though sharing his story had brought him a sense of peace. Little did he know, his words would soon spark a wave of empathy and reflection far beyond the confines of the talk show set. Within hours, clips of the interview went viral, spreading across social media like wildfire. Viewers were captivated, not only by Keanu's vulnerability, but also by the profound simplicity of his message. Comment sections overflowed with messages of support, admiration, and shared experiences. Many fans revealed their own stories of loss, recounting how certain objects, a piece of jewelry, a photograph, a keepsake, had helped them cope with grief. Others expressed regret over having underestimated the significance of Keanu's necklace, vowing to approach similar situations with greater sensitivity in the future. Amidst the outpouring of love for Keanu, the tide turned decisively against Jordan Hartwell. Critics accused him of insensitivity, pointing out that his earlier jokes now seemed callous in light of Keanu's revelation. Memes mocking Jordan's comments began circulating online, accompanied by hashtags like "Respect Keanu" and "Symbols of Love." Even some of Jordan's colleagues within the entertainment industry weighed in, urging him to address the backlash directly. Feeling the heat, Jordan attempted damage control by issuing a brief apology on Twitter. "Hey everyone," he wrote. "I want to say sorry if anyone was offended by my comments about Keanu's necklace. That wasn't my intention, and I truly admire him as an actor and person." While the statement lacked depth, it signaled an acknowledgement of the growing discontent surrounding his behavior. Behind the scenes, executives at Jordan's network scrambled to mitigate the fallout. They convened emergency meetings to discuss strategies for salvaging both Jordan's reputation and the show's image. Suggestions ranged from booking Keanu for another appearance, though most agreed that would be unlikely, to dedicating an entire episode to themes of grief, loss, and healing. Ultimately, they decided to lean into the latter option, hoping to transform the controversy into an opportunity for meaningful dialogue. As the days passed, the narrative around the incident continued to evolve. What had started as a seemingly innocuous joke had morphed into a catalyst for broader conversations about empathy, respect, and the importance of recognizing the stories behind the symbols we carry. And while Jordan grappled with the consequences of his actions, Keanu emerged not only unscathed but celebrated anew, as a beacon of grace, humility, and humanity in an often chaotic world. Though the drama surrounding the cross necklace showed no signs of abating, one thing became abundantly clear. Keanu's response had transcended the realm of mere celebrity gossip. It had touched hearts, sparked introspection, and reminded countless individuals of the power of vulnerability in fostering connection. Whether intentional or not, Keanu had once again proven why he was beloved, not just as an actor, but as a person, a testament to the enduring impact of kindness and authenticity. The ripple effects of Keanu Reeves's heartfelt revelation about his cross necklace continued to spread far and wide, touching lives in ways no one could have anticipated. Social media became a virtual town square where people from all walks of life gathered to share their thoughts, stories, and emotions. Hashtags like "Respect Keanu," "Symbols of Love," and "Remembering Our Lost Ones" trended globally, creating an online tapestry of shared humanity. For many, Keanu's words struck a chord so deep that it inspired them to open up about their own experiences with loss and grief. One user posted a photo of a worn leather bracelet they wore every day, explaining that it had belonged to their late father. Another shared a story about a small wooden figurine carved by their grandmother, which now sat proudly on their bedside table. These posts weren't just tributes. They were acts of healing, proof that objects imbued with memory could serve as anchors during life's most turbulent times. Comment sections transformed into safe spaces where strangers offered words of comfort, encouragement, and solidarity. In a world often divided by differences, Keanu's simple explanation of his necklace had somehow united people through the universal language of love and remembrance. While fans celebrated Keanu's vulnerability, the spotlight remained firmly fixed on Jordan Hartwell, whose earlier remarks now felt glaringly out of touch. Despite his public apology, criticism of Jordan's behavior intensified. Opinion pieces began appearing in major publications, dissecting the ethics of making light of personal symbols without understanding their context. One columnist wrote, "In a culture obsessed with quick laughs and viral moments, we sometimes forget that behind every object is a story, and behind every story is a human being." The piece went on to praise Keanu for using the moment to educate rather than retaliate, calling him a model of restraint and dignity. For Jordan, the backlash proved relentless. Late-night comedy shows that once praised his sharp wit now mocked him mercilessly. Comedians impersonated him, exaggerating his tone when he joked about the necklace, turning his words into biting satire. Memes circulated widely, depicting Jordan wearing oversized clown shoes labeled insensitive comments, while standing next to a stoic cartoon version of Keanu holding his cross. Even some of Jordan's peers within the entertainment industry distanced themselves publicly, citing concerns over professionalism and respect. Back at the network, executives grew increasingly alarmed by the situation. Ratings for Jordan's show dipped noticeably, and advertisers started pulling out, citing reputational risks. Internal meetings turned tense as higher-ups debated whether firing Jordan might be the only way to salvage the brand. Yet amid the chaos, one producer suggested a bold idea. Why not turn this controversy into an opportunity? What if Jordan used his platform to address the issue head-on, fostering a meaningful conversation about grief, empathy, and the importance of listening? Initially skeptical, Jordan reluctantly agreed to give it a shot. He realized he had little choice. The alternative was watching his career spiral further downward. With the support of his team, he reached out to Keanu directly, hoping to mend fences and perhaps even collaborate on something constructive. To everyone's surprise, Keanu accepted the olive branch. Known for his forgiving nature, he agreed to meet Jordan privately to discuss what had happened. Their meeting took place in a quiet cafe tucked away from prying eyes. Over cups of coffee, the two men sat across from each other, the air thick with unspoken tension. Jordan started by apologizing sincerely, acknowledging that his comments had been thoughtless and hurtful. "I didn't know the backstory," he admitted, his voice tinged with genuine regret. "If I had, I never would have said what I did. I'm truly sorry." Keanu listened patiently, his expression calm but reflective. When Jordan finished speaking, Keanu nodded slowly. "We all make mistakes," he said, his tone measured yet kind. "What matters is what we do after realizing those mistakes. You have a chance here to use your platform to create something positive. That's what really counts." Jordan left the meeting feeling both humbled and inspired. For the first time since the incident, he saw a path forward, not just for himself but for others who might benefit from hearing these kinds of conversations. Back at the studio, preparations began for a special episode dedicated entirely to themes of loss, memory, and resilience. Jordan worked closely with producers to ensure the segment would strike the right balance between sensitivity and authenticity. Guests for the episode included mental health professionals, spiritual leaders, and individuals who had experienced profound loss firsthand. Among them was a young woman named Sarah, whose brother had died in a car accident 5 years earlier. She brought along a guitar her brother used to play, explaining how strumming its strings helped her feel closer to him. Another guest, an elderly man named Harold, shared the story of a pocket watch passed down through generations in his family, symbolizing the enduring bond between ancestors and descendants. When the day of the taping arrived, Jordan opened the show with a heartfelt monologue unlike anything he'd ever delivered before. Gone was the usual bravado and sarcasm. Instead, he spoke candidly about his misstep and the lessons he'd learned since. "I want to start by saying thank you to Keanu Reeves," he began, looking directly into the camera. "Thank you for handling my foolishness with grace and for reminding me, and all of us, that words matter, symbols matter, and above all, compassion matters." The audience responded with applause, though it was quieter and more subdued than usual, a testament to the gravity of the moment. As the episode unfolded, Jordan facilitated discussions that encouraged guests and viewers alike to reflect on their own relationships with loved ones and cherished mementos. At one point, he asked Dr. Emily Carter, a psychologist specializing in grief counseling, why objects like Keanu's cross held such power. "Because they connect us to something bigger than ourselves," she replied. "They remind us that even though someone may be gone, their impact lives on, in our hearts, in our actions, and in the memories we carry forward. These symbols are bridges between the past and the present, helping us navigate the complexities of loss." By the end of the episode, there was a palpable shift in the atmosphere. Viewers flooded social media with messages praising Jordan for addressing the topic with sincerity and depth. Many noted how the show had provided solace and validation for their own struggles with grief. Others expressed gratitude for seeing celebrities like Keanu use their influence to foster understanding and empathy. Though the road ahead wouldn't be easy for Jordan, the episode marked a turning point in his career. It wasn't just about redemption. It was about growth. For the first time in years, he felt proud of the work he was doing, knowing it had the potential to make a real difference in people's lives. And for Keanu, the entire ordeal reinforced his status as a cultural icon whose actions consistently inspired kindness and reflection. As the days turned into weeks, the story of the cross necklace continued to resonate. Its legacy extended beyond the initial controversy, becoming a symbol of hope, resilience, and the transformative power of storytelling. Through it all, Keanu remained steadfast in his belief that compassion and understanding could bridge even the widest divides, a lesson that echoed long after the headlines faded away. The aftermath of Jordan Hartwell's special episode on grief and symbols marked a turning point, not just for him, but for the broader cultural conversation it sparked. The show aired to critical acclaim, earning praise from viewers and industry, insiders alike, for its raw honesty and emotional depth. For many, it felt like a breath of fresh air in an era dominated by superficial content and fleeting distractions. While late-night television was typically associated with quick laughs and celebrity banter, this episode proved that the medium could also serve as a powerful platform for meaningful dialogue. Jordan himself seemed like a changed man. Gone was the sharp-tongued host who thrived on edgy humor at any cost. In his place stood someone more introspective, more aware of the weight their words carried. During the episode, he listened intently to each guest, asking thoughtful questions that encouraged them to share their stories without interruption or judgment. His demeanor was respectful, even vulnerable, as he opened up about his own fears of inadequacy and the pressure to constantly entertain. By the end of the night, there was no doubt that Jordan had taken a significant step toward rebuilding trust, not just with his audience, but with himself. For weeks after the episode aired, social media buzzed with reactions. Viewers shared clips of particularly poignant moments, such as when Sarah strummed her brother's guitar and choked up while describing how music helped her process her emotions. Others highlighted Dr. Emily Carter's explanation of why objects like Keanu's cross necklace held such profound meaning, calling it life-changing and eye-opening. Even critics who had previously dismissed Jordan's work admitted that the episode demonstrated a level of maturity and empathy rarely seen in mainstream entertainment. But perhaps the most surprising outcome was the renewed respect Jordan garnered within the industry. Fellow hosts began reaching out to congratulate him, acknowledging the courage it took to pivot so dramatically from his usual style. Some even followed suit, dedicating segments of their own shows to similar themes. Ellen DeGeneres invited a grief counselor onto her program to discuss coping mechanisms, while James Corden featured a segment where musicians performed songs inspired by loved ones they'd lost. Slowly but surely, the ripple effect of Jordan's episode spread across the landscape of late-night television, encouraging others to embrace vulnerability alongside humor. Meanwhile, Keanu Reeves continued to shine as a beacon of grace and authenticity. Though he hadn't appeared on Jordan's show, his influence loomed large over the entire project. Fans frequently credited him for inspiring the episode, pointing out how his quiet dignity during the initial controversy had set the tone for everything that followed. In interviews promoting his film, Keanu remained humble, deflecting praise and emphasizing the importance of empathy in everyday interactions. "I'm just glad people are talking," he said during one appearance, Grief is something we all experience, yet so often we feel like we have to go through it alone. If sharing my story helps someone feel less isolated, then I'm happy to do that. His words resonated deeply, especially among those who had struggled silently with their own losses. Countless fans reached out to express gratitude, sharing how Keanu's openness had encouraged them to seek support or reconnect with cherished memories. One fan tweeted, "I haven't taken off my dad's old watch since hearing Keanu talk about his sister. It makes me feel closer to him, like he's still here with me." Another wrote, "Thank you, Keanu, for reminding us that it's okay to carry pieces of our loved ones with us wherever we go." As the weeks turned into months, both Keanu and Jordan found themselves navigating new chapters in their careers and lives, shaped by the lessons they'd learned along the way. For Jordan, the experience became a catalyst for reinvention. He started incorporating more heartfelt segments into his show, inviting guests to discuss topics ranging from mental health to environmental activism. Audiences responded positively, appreciating the balance between laughter and substance. Advertisers returned, drawn by the renewed sense of purpose and authenticity that now defined the program. Behind the scenes, Jordan worked tirelessly to ensure that every episode honored the spirit of the special. He collaborated closely with writers and producers to craft stories that celebrated resilience, kindness, and human connection. Occasionally, he would reference the cross necklace incident, using it as a reminder of the importance of humility and growth. "We're all learning," he once told the audience, "and if we can learn together, maybe we can grow together too." For Keanu, life went on much as it always had, quietly, steadily, and with unwavering grace. Yet, subtle changes began to emerge. More than ever before, fans approached him in public to thank him for being a source of inspiration. At airports, concerts, and grocery stores, strangers would stop him to share their own stories of loss and healing. Rather than brushing them off, Keanu made time to listen, offering words of encouragement and understanding. These interactions reinforced his belief in the power of small gestures to create ripples of positivity. One particularly touching moment occurred during a book signing event for a children's novel he co-authored. A young woman named Mia waited patiently in line, clutching a worn photograph of her mother. When it was her turn to meet Keanu, she hesitated before speaking. "I lost my mom last year," she said softly, tears welling in her eyes. "Your story about your sister, it gave me permission to keep talking about her, to keep celebrating her life instead of pretending she never existed." Keanu placed a gentle hand on hers and smiled warmly. "That's beautiful," he replied. "Your mom sounds amazing. Keep holding on to those memories. They're a gift." Moments like these reminded Keanu why he chose to live his life the way he did, with kindness, sincerity, and an unshakable belief in the goodness of others. They also underscored the lasting impact of the cross necklace saga, not as a scandal, but as a testament to the transformative power of vulnerability and compassion. In the wider world, the conversation around symbols of remembrance gained momentum. Museums hosted exhibits exploring the role of personal artifacts in processing grief, while schools incorporated discussions about memory and legacy into their curricula. Mental health organizations reported a surge in inquiries as people sought resources to help them navigate their own journeys of healing. All of this stemmed in part from a single moment on a late-night talk show, a moment that might have been forgotten if not for the courage of two men willing to confront their mistakes and share their truths. By the time the year drew to a close, both Keanu and Jordan had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected to the world around them. Their paths, though vastly different, intersected in ways neither could have predicted, leaving an indelible mark on countless lives. And as the final credits rolled on another chapter of their respective stories, one thing remained abundantly clear. Sometimes the smallest symbols, a cross, a guitar, a pocket watch, can hold the greatest power to unite us, heal us, and remind us of what truly matters. As the months passed, the ripple effects of Keanu Reeves's cross necklace story and Jordan Hartwell's subsequent transformation continued to unfold in unexpected and profound ways. What had begun as a fleeting moment on late-night television had evolved into a cultural movement, inspiring individuals and communities to embrace vulnerability, empathy, and the power of storytelling. Both men found themselves at the center of this wave, navigating its currents with humility and purpose. For Jordan, the journey was one of redemption and reinvention. His decision to pivot from sharp-witted banter to heartfelt conversations paid off in ways he never anticipated. The special episode dedicated to grief and symbols became a benchmark for his show, earning accolades from critics and viewers alike. It wasn't just the content that resonated. It was the authenticity behind it. People appreciated seeing a side of Jordan they hadn't known existed. Vulnerable, reflective, and genuinely invested in making a difference. Encouraged by the positive response, Jordan leaned further into this new direction. He began hosting recurring segments called Symbols of Strength, where guests shared personal stories about objects that carried deep meaning for them. One week, a war veteran spoke about a dog tag he kept in memory of his fallen comrade. Another week, a single mother described how her grandmother's quilt reminded her of resilience and love. Each story added a layer of humanity to the show, creating moments of connection that transcended demographics and backgrounds. Audiences weren't the only ones moved by these episodes. Jordan himself underwent a transformation. Preparing for these interviews forced him to confront parts of his own life he'd long ignored. In one particularly emotional segment, he opened up about losing his best friend to addiction when they were teenagers. Holding back tears, he admitted that he'd spent years numbing the pain with humor and avoidance. "I think I've been joking my way through life because I didn't know how else to deal with it," he confessed. "But hearing everyone else's stories has taught me that it's okay to feel, it's okay to hurt, and it's okay to talk about it." That admission struck a chord with millions of viewers who saw pieces of themselves in Jordan's struggle. Comments poured in praising his bravery, with many sharing their own battles with grief and guilt. For the first time in his career, Jordan felt like he was truly connecting with people, not as a performer but as a fellow human being. It was a humbling yet liberating experience, one that gave him a renewed sense of purpose. Meanwhile, Keanu Reeves remained steadfast in his quiet grace, continuing to live his life with the same humility and kindness that had endeared him to fans worldwide. Though he avoided the spotlight whenever possible, his influence loomed large over the ongoing conversation about symbols and remembrance. Fans often cited his cross necklace as a catalyst for their own reflections on loss and healing. Social media platforms buzzed with photos of personal keepsakes accompanied by heartfelt captions, all inspired by Keanu's willingness to share his story. In interviews, Keanu deflected praise, insisting that he was simply doing what felt right. "I don't think I did anything extraordinary," he said during a rare sit-down with a journalist. "I just told the truth about something that means a lot to me. If that helps someone else feel less alone, then I'm grateful for that." Despite his modesty, Keanu's actions spoke volumes. He began collaborating with organizations focused on mental health and bereavement support, using his platform to amplify their missions. At charity events, he quietly donated substantial sums without seeking recognition, embodying the selflessness that had become synonymous with his name. When asked why he chose to get involved, he responded simply, "Because we're all connected. Helping others is helping ourselves." One such collaboration led to the creation of an initiative called Threads of Memory, designed to provide resources and community support for those coping with loss. The program encouraged participants to create visual tributes, a patchwork, quilt, a photo album, or even a digital collage, to honor loved ones who had passed away. Keanu lent his voice to promotional materials, speaking candidly about how the cross necklace served as a tangible reminder of his sister Kim. "It's not about the object itself," he explained. "It's about what it represents: love, connection, and the idea that even though someone may be gone, they're still with us in spirit." The initiative quickly gained traction, drawing attention from media outlets and sparking grassroots movements across the globe. Schools incorporated Threads of Memory projects into their curricula, encouraging students to explore themes of legacy and remembrance. Community centers hosted workshops where families could come together to craft tributes, fostering bonds and providing much-needed spaces for healing. Even celebrities joined the effort, sharing their own memorials and encouraging fans to participate. Amidst all this, Keanu continued to balance his acting career with his philanthropic endeavors. On set, he maintained his reputation as a consummate professional, earning the admiration of cast and crew alike. Off-set, he remained approachable and down-to-earth, often taking time to chat with fans and listen to their stories. These interactions reinforced his belief in the importance of human connection, reminding him that everyone carries invisible burdens. Back on Jordan's show, the impact of Keanu's influence became increasingly evident. Inspired by the success of Symbols of Strength, Jordan decided to dedicate an entire season to exploring themes of empathy, resilience, and personal growth. Guests ranged from everyday heroes overcoming adversity to thought leaders challenging societal norms. Each episode concluded with a call to action, urging viewers to engage with causes close to their hearts and contribute to building a kinder, more compassionate world. By the end of the season, Jordan's show had undergone a remarkable evolution. Ratings soared, advertisers flocked back, and critics hailed it as a groundbreaking example of how entertainment could drive meaningful change. Yet Jordan remained humble, crediting Keanu and the countless individuals who had shared their stories for paving the way. "This isn't my victory," he said during the season finale. "It belongs to everyone who's dared to be vulnerable, to speak their truth, and to remind us that we're never truly alone." As the final credits rolled on that season, both Keanu and Jordan stood as living testaments to the power of authenticity and compassion. Their journeys, though vastly different, were intertwined by a shared commitment to making the world a better place. Through their actions, they had ignited a chain reaction of kindness and understanding, proving that even the smallest gestures could leave an indelible mark. And so, as the curtain fell on this chapter of their lives, one thing remained abundantly clear: the legacy of the Cross Necklace saga would endure, not as a fleeting controversy, but as a timeless reminder of the strength we find in vulnerability, the connections we forge through shared experiences, and the enduring power of love to transcend even death. The ripple effects of Keanu Reeves's Cross Necklace story and Jordan Hartwell's transformation continued to unfold long after the initial incident had faded from headlines. What had started as a seemingly innocuous moment on late-night television had grown into something much larger, a testament to the enduring power of empathy, vulnerability, and human connection. Both men, in their own unique ways, became symbols of grace under pressure, inspiring countless individuals to reflect on their own lives and relationships. For Jordan, the journey of reinvention didn't stop with his late-night show. As he embraced his newfound role as a facilitator of meaningful conversations, opportunities began pouring in for him to expand his reach beyond the confines of television. He was invited to speak at conferences about mental health, grief, and the importance of compassion in leadership. His talks resonated deeply with audiences, many of whom were moved by his honesty and willingness to confront his past mistakes. One particularly memorable event took place at a global summit on emotional well-being. Standing before an audience of thousands, Jordan recounted the story of the Cross Necklace incident, sharing how it had forced him to reevaluate not only his career, but also his approach to life. "I used to think my job was just to make people laugh," he admitted, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "But I've come to realize that laughter is only one part of the equation. Sometimes what people need most is permission to feel, to cry, to grieve, to remember. And if I can help create spaces where that's possible, then I'll consider my work worthwhile." His words earned a standing ovation, solidifying his reputation as someone who had turned adversity into opportunity. Inspired by this reception, Jordan decided to write a book titled Symbols of Strength: Finding Meaning in Loss and Connection. The memoir chronicled his personal growth, weaving together anecdotes from his own life with insights gleaned from the guests on his show. It quickly climbed bestseller lists, praised for its raw honesty and practical advice on navigating grief and fostering resilience. Meanwhile, Keanu Reeves remained steadfast in his quiet influence, continuing to inspire through actions rather than words. Though he avoided the limelight, his presence loomed large over the cultural shifts that followed the cross-necklace saga. Fans often described him as a guardian angel figure, someone who seemed almost otherworldly in his kindness and humility. Stories of his generosity spread like wildfire, from paying for strangers' medical bills to surprising cancer patients with heartfelt letters and gifts. One such story went viral when a young fan named Ava shared her experience meeting Keanu at a film festival, diagnosed with a rare illness she had written to him months earlier, explaining how his portrayal of John Wick, a character defined by loss and perseverance, had given her strength during chemotherapy treatments. To her astonishment, Keanu responded personally, sending her a signed poster along with a note that read, "You are stronger than you know. Keep fighting." When they finally met in person, Keanu spent nearly an hour talking with Ava and her family, offering words of encouragement and promising to stay in touch. Stories like these reinforced Keanu's status as a cultural icon, but they also highlighted the broader impact of his philosophy, that small acts of kindness could have profound effects. Inspired by his example, fans around the world began organizing community initiatives aimed at spreading positivity and support. One group launched a campaign called Kindness Chains, encouraging participants to perform random acts of kindness and document them online. Another initiative, Threads of Memory, which Keanu had helped launch, expanded globally, hosting workshops and exhibitions that celebrated the power of remembrance. As these movements gained momentum, both Keanu and Jordan found themselves increasingly intertwined in the collective effort to foster empathy and understanding. They occasionally crossed paths at charity events or fundraisers, exchanging warm greetings and brief updates on their respective projects. While neither sought recognition for their contributions, their shared mission brought them closer together, not as celebrities but as allies in a greater cause. In a poignant twist of fate, Jordan invited Keanu back onto his show for a special anniversary episode commemorating the year since the cross necklace incident. This time, however, the tone was vastly different. Instead of jokes or banter, the segment focused on gratitude and reflection. Sitting across from each other once again, the two men revisited the events that had unfolded, acknowledging how far they, and the world, had come since that fateful night. "I want to thank you publicly, Keanu," Jordan said, his voice filled with sincerity. "Not just for handling my comments with grace, but for reminding me and everyone watching that we all carry stories worth listening to. You've inspired so many people, including me, to be better versions of ourselves." Keanu smiled softly, nodding in appreciation. "Thank you for saying that, Jordan," he replied. "But I think the real credit goes to the people who've been brave enough to share their stories. Symbols like my cross necklace are just reminders of the connections we all share. If anything, this whole experience has shown us that we're stronger together than we are apart." The audience erupted into applause, standing to honor both men for their contributions to a movement that had touched millions. Clips from the episode went viral once again, reigniting discussions about the importance of empathy and the healing power of storytelling. Critics hailed it as a defining moment in modern entertainment, one that transcended celebrity culture to address universal truths about love, loss, and resilience. Years later, the legacy of the cross necklace saga endured, becoming a cornerstone of conversations about grief, memory, and human connection. Schools incorporated lessons on empathy and symbolism into their curricula, using Keanu's story as a case study in the power of vulnerability. Mental health organizations reported record levels of engagement, attributing much of their success to initiatives sparked by the movement. Even Hollywood took notice, producing films and documentaries that explored themes of loss and healing, inspired by the cultural shift that Keanu and Jordan had inadvertently ignited. Through it all, both men remained humble, deflecting praise, and focusing instead on the work that lay ahead. For Jordan, this meant continuing to use his platform to amplify marginalized voices and advocate for social change. For Keanu, It meant quietly supporting causes close to his heart, while maintaining the same unassuming demeanor that had endeared him to fans worldwide. Though their paths rarely crossed after that anniversary episode, the bond they shared, as unlikely allies in a shared mission, remained strong. In interviews, Jordan would often cite Keanu as a source of inspiration, crediting him with teaching him the value of authenticity and compassion. Keanu, for his part, spoke fondly of Jordan's transformation, calling it a testament to the idea that growth and redemption were always possible no matter the circumstances. Ultimately, the story of the cross necklace served as a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of humanity. It showed that even the smallest symbols, a piece of jewelry, a photograph, a keepsake, could hold immeasurable meaning, bridging the gap between past and present, between joy and sorrow, between strangers and friends. And it proved that when faced with moments of adversity, individuals had the capacity not only to rise above, but to lift others up along the way. As the final chapter of this saga closed, one thing remained abundantly clear: the legacy of Keanu Reeves's cross necklace and the lessons it had inspired would continue to resonate for generations to come, not because of the object itself, but because of the profound truths it represented: that love endures, that connection matters, and that kindness, no matter how small, has the power to change the world.